Coming up, Wayne Bennett takes the Clearys back to school. The Giants rain on Catalan's parade. And we take a look back at the first week of the finals in the NRL. Yes, hello, and welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I am Connor Marcellus, and today we're bringing you your NRL Finals Week 1 and 2 debrief. And before we jump into the semi-final action, let's take a look back at what happened in the first week of the finals. And we start off with the qualifying final, the Melbourne Storm running out 40-12 winners over the Manly Sea Eagles.
Look, I was hoping this game was going to be a bit closer to an extent, but I knew that Melbourne were going to run away with it at some point during the match.
The whole thing about it was trying to limit the influence Tom Trbojevic had on the game. That would have been the big thing.
And he certainly did, and Melbourne did exactly do that, limit what he did. They pretty much shut him down. He was unheard of during that game.
Not only was he unheard of on that game, but at the same time, the discipline of Manly just was not up to par.
No, it certainly wasn't. And they made errors, and the errors that Manly made, Melbourne capitalised on those and punished Manly by scoring points, whether it's through tries or penalty faults.
And no better example of that than Isaac Lumi, who was in for Josh Addo-Carr at the time. I'm just pounced on that ball early, and within 2 minutes, Melbourne score first.
Yeah, and that's pretty much set the tone for the rest of the match, I think, anyway. Once Melbourne got into that groove, they were in it and they were unstoppable. Yeah,
just from Kenny Bromwich just wrestling his way down, then to just the sore and poor discipline around the ruck, where you had Christian Welch steaming his way through, then some slick hands from Cameron Munster, linking up with Ryan Pappenhausen, and Melbourne just in a commanding lead at halftime.
Yeah, certainly. We're 24-6. I thought it was always going to be hard for Manly to come back in that second half, and that definitely proved to be the point.
And Ryan Pappenhausen, I got to say, we don't know, we've been talking about this before, just all the people questioning, is he still the same player before he got concussed at Magic Round? Well, let me see if this fits the bill. We might have already gone over this before, but we'll go over it again. But just 2 tries, 155 running meters, 3 tackle breaks, 7 from 8 goals converted, including, for the first time in the NRL Final Series, the first 2-point field goal.
Yes, and he adds to the list of an exclusive club, you could say, who've kicked the 2-point field goal this season, alongside Adam Reynolds, that is, Cleary, and Dylan Edwards.
It's a very rare company indeed for such an infant rule.
Well, yes, it is. And look, it's good to see that we're getting more of it into the games of that. Not only, and he's also the second fullback to kick the 2-point field goal as well.
Well, Pappenhausen is no stranger to taking field goals. I think the clash against the Roosters at Suncorp last year is evident of that.
Well, yes, that's very true. So he's got a good boot on him. Even the conversions, he's got a good boot on him. So he can rack up those points very, very quickly.
As for Manly, they just didn't provide Tom Trbojevic with the space they needed. The defense was lousy, probably back to round 1 lousy, even they let him try after try against the Roosters. And they just weren't able to execute an attack. They targeted Melbourne's left edge and tried to use the tall timber that is Jason Saab, and they did pull that off very well. But other than that, Manly didn't even lay a glove on them.
No, they didn't. And Manly were not up to scratches. It's very concerning for the rest of the final series. Like, they really need to not go back to the drawing board as such, but need to work on where they lacked again in this game.
And they need to do it fast, because right now, Melbourne are off to yet another preliminary final. I believe it's now their 9th in 10 years, because they've only missed once. And they have a very strong record in the preliminary final as well. So as for Manly, home semi-final in Mackay, no chances and nowhere left to hide.
No, there's not. So they really need to get on with it if they want to make it through to the grand final.
And speaking of their opponents in that semi-final, the winner of the first elimination final, the Sydney Roosters outlasting the Gold Coast Titans 25-24.
It was a very, very close game indeed, but overall, a very bitter loss for the Titans, you could say.
I think a lot of people underestimated the Titans going into this game early.
Well, I thought the Roosters would go on with it, especially after the Titans being a converted try down the half. So I'm like, oh yeah, Roosters going to go on with it. But no, the complete opposite happened.
It definitely was. It definitely was. But for the first 38 minutes, the Roosters looked like they were in charge. I mean, 12-0 lead. It isn't something to crow about, but it was definitely something.
It was something until the Titans hit back with a minute to go in the half.
That can always turn a game, especially if you're scoring late in the half.
Most certainly. And it did eventually turn its game on its head. It didn't straight away, but as the game progressed through, it certainly did put its game on its head.
Now, usually we always pick a player who is a standout from the winning side. I'm going to break that rule. I didn't think he was, but Jared Wallace, if the Titans won, he would have been my standout player for that game. I mean, he was practically close to being in everything, from sticking it to Victor Radley early, the almost try from the intercept. Just those final 10 meters, man.
Yeah, he just didn't quite have the legs to get there, unfortunately. Otherwise, that would have been the biggest turning point of that match and could have won the game for the Gold Coast.
It would have been big, especially the try he did score, pouncing on a Matt Ikuvalu error on his own goal line.
Yeah, look, you don't see Ikuvalu make errors very often, but then you don't see Jared Wallace being right there as well, making something out of nothing, basically. So it was all crazy.
We were literally on the edge of our seats watching that final, or this elimination final between these two sides.
Most definitely. It was nail biting. It was unpredictable. It's what it had everything of what a finals game should have.
It definitely did. And a close nail biting finish where even though the Roosters took the lead by 1 with 2 minutes left on the clock, the Titans almost snagged the win.
Yeah, very unfortunate there. It was very, very disappointing to see that. And I feel for the Titans when that error was made.
I think there are 3 emotions most Titan fans will be feeling. First, anger, because they could have won that. On top of the disappointment, those two are felt by the fans the most, because if Herbert passes back on the inside for Fafita, when the Roosters are clearly shot to the right, he'll crash through all of them and he wins that game. Instead of trying to go for the risky offload to Thompson, who had already ran past them anyway.
Yeah.
As for the players, the main thing now, they should be feeling hungry. They should be wanting more of the finals.
Well,
now that they actually make it.
Yeah, well, we know what they've produced in a finals match this season, so they know what they are, what they have to do to go again next season. They've got the squad there. They've got the big signings so far, Sumawali and David Fafita. So they need to try and carry on that momentum from this season and making the finals into next year and deep into the finals next year, hopefully.
We know the Titans are, well, I mean, apart from being a big side in terms of forward pack size, that they like throwing the ball around. They just need to tighten up on their defense for those big games.
Yeah, they certainly do.
And icing opportunities as well.
Yes, they certainly do. Petrie did miss that field goal, which could have won the game then as well. He only missed it to the left, I believe, but not by much, though.
And off the back of that, now he is looking for a club for next year because his contract was officially ended.
Yes.
Now, second qualifying final, the Rabbitohs getting up over the top of the Penrith Panthers, 16 points to 10. I don't think anyone could have fathomed this result.
Well, no, they couldn't have. And I said last week, I hope the Rabbitohs beat Penrith. And they certainly did do that. And for some reason, I was very happy about that.
There were all these mind games throughout the week. I mean, you had Wayne Bennett, Ivan Cleary going at each other in the prep. I think in their own minds, they thought they were getting one up over the other and the referee as well. But I think we all know who the real winner was.
Wayne Bennett.
Yep, it was Wayne Bennett. He's just like, when you think of Wayne Bennett, I mean, you think this bloke has been in the game longer than most. He's been in the game for more than 30 years. He's got 7 premierships to his name in between 2 clubs. And he's probably seen these coaches in these boom sides that haven't yet won a premiership or have been in the grand final looking to go again and actually do one better. And he's just like, yeah, I've seen you types before. But guess what? You might be good, but I'm great.
Yeah. Well, with all the plenty of years experience he's had, he's got 7 premierships against his name for a reason.
And the sort of personnel he has in his side as well. Of course, he was missing Latrell Mitchell for this clash because of the suspension and Joey Manu's eye socket that he charged at. And whether that was intentional or not, I think many people would still find that up for debate. Well, it's settled now, really.
Yeah, it has. But
the personnel that they brought in, Blake Taaffe, when the opposition halfback is telling you, I'm going to bomb you into oblivion, and because as you're going in under the high ball, he didn't flag or falter to Taaffe.
No, he didn't. Taaffe only dropped, which was his very first take, 1 Cleary bomb in the whole match.
Remarkable.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely remarkable.
And he's not even a fullback by choice. He's in the halves by choice.
But somehow ended up at fullback, and he's actually gone pretty well. He's
gone really well. He's filled in for Latrell Mitchell very, very well indeed. He's still got obviously big shoes to fill if he stays there, which I don't think he will. But in the meantime, he's the fullback, and he's done really, really well, which is good to see.
And with this win, the Rabbitohs have now turned the entire final series on their head. Because now, not only have you got Penrith on the going to the semi-finals to try and fight to keep their season alive, they're on the same side of the finals draw as the Melbourne Storm. So if they beat Parramatta this Saturday, they got to face Melbourne for a right to the grand final.
So everyone had been saying all year long, Panthers Melbourne grand final, that cannot happen anymore.
I actually said Rabbitohs Storm at the start of the year, so I'm thinking, yeah, this could be happening.
Well, I said Melbourne Raiders, so I could get at least one right.
I could get both right at this rate.
Yeah, but now I hope the Rabbits get there. I was going to say Rabbits Manly, but I don't think that's possible either. So, look, it's going to be either Melbourne or Penrith could still be in it, or one of them's going to be in it, not both of them.
Yeah, I think that's what you get. Even if you concede 50 twice in 1 year, if you put your defense on at the right time, you can do anything. And I think Wayne just demonstrated that clearly.
Yes. And another thing is the Rabbitohs held Penrith scoreless in the second half, which is also unheard of.
Best defensive display of the year.
By far.
And Tom Burgess, for me, was a standout player. 212 running meters, 2 tackle breaks, and 16 tackles made without a single miss.
That is unbelievable. Without having a single miss in any game is brilliant. But against a top side like Penrith in a critical game of the season in the finals is even better.
It is. It definitely is.
Let's hope he can back that up week 3.
And the final result from week 1 of the finals, the Parramatta Eels sending the Newcastle Knights home 28 points to 20. My God, the start from that. What went wrong there?
I am not 100% sure what the heck happened, but the game had controversy,
Oh, there was controversy, believe me.
especially at the back end of the match.
Ultimately, I was convinced that the referee had single-handedly brought the Knights back into it.
I believe that too.
I mean, the moment the Knights got some dubious penalty calls, I thought it turned the game on its head, and it would have been an absolute farce if Newcastle had won.
Look, considering all the HIAs that Newcastle had within the space of 10 minutes, I think it's like, what, 3 or 4 HIAs in the first, like, really close together. It was hard to keep up on who was off and who was on.
I think they said it was like a merry-go-round of HIAs.
But were they legit HIAs or were they tactical HIAs?
Oh, they might have been all tactical. Who knows?
To have that many.
But your favorite referee, Ashley Klein, he almost engineered the result against Parramatta.
Yeah, almost, but didn't. But the big controversy was Clint Gutherson. Did he drop that ball or did he actually kick it?
It was a drop kick. Anyone could see it was a drop kick. Billy Slater could probably tell you that was a drop kick.
Yeah.
And he would know because he specializes in drop kicks that look extremely dubious live. And then the bunker holds them up and says, yep, that is a try.
Look, Knights fans will be saying that he dropped the ball. Eagles fans will be saying he kicked the ball.
Well, he kicked it. It's plain and simple. He got his boot to the ball before it touched the ground. And even if it did touch the ground first, the ruling is you can't do that, as Billy Slater demonstrated.
Yes. So I'd say what might have been frustrating part was it doesn't happen that often. So there might have been that bit of confusion in amongst it that maybe sparked this whole debate.
At the end of the day, it was a penalty try.
Yeah. It was, and it unfortunately knocked the Knights out.
And it almost took the gloss off what would have been an outstanding Eels performance, because from 10-6 down, they turned it on in about 12 minutes. Clint Gutherson and Blake Ferguson, the standout player for me, 2 tries, 149 running meters, and 2 tackle breaks, along with Mitchell Moses, who was clearly the better halfback on the field when side by side with Mitchell Pearce.
He certainly was. And you wouldn't, like with all the experience that Pearce has had, you'd think that Pearce would. But no, Parramatta were on, not quite on song, but they were very close to it. And Ferguson, with all of his finals experience, he knows what he's doing.
I think the Eels played a lot better, and having Campbell Gillard back helped a lot.
It did. It bolstered their forwards, and it paid off in the end. I also thought that the 2 quick tries that Eels got before the second half, before the end of the first half, sorry, I thought, oh no, Parramatta are going to run away with this. And then when I got 7 minutes back in the second half, I thought, okay, that's all and done for Newcastle. But no, they somehow fought back. And
as we said, the Rabbitohs win has got wide-lasting ramifications, because now Parramatta's road has just gotten a bit more harder, because now, we will touch onto this in the semi-finals, but now they've got to play the top 2 sides in order to get to the grand final.
Yeah, it's very tough ride ahead for Parramatta.
And speaking of those semi-finals, they come from the BB Prince Stadium in Mackay, all right, with the first semi-final taking place between the Manly Sea Eagles and the Sydney Roosters. And for the Roosters, there are 2 major outs at the moment. Siosiwa Taukei'aho ruled out with a calf injury. So Isaac Liu moves into the front row. And after Sam Verrills lost his challenge at the NRL Judiciary Unit, He too has been ruled out, with more than likely Sam Walker to come into the starting side and Ben Marshke to be called up from the reserves. Nat Butcher is also back on the bench.
For the changes from Manly, Lachlan Croker is back on. I think has been named. And Dylan Walker is also going to be there as well. And I think that is pretty much unchanged. I think I could be wrong.
Well, Curtis Sirenen was also forced to drop back to the reserves with the change that made with Croker coming back in.
Yeah.
Well,
this one is going to be a very juicy indeed.
Well, both the semi-final clashes are going to be juicy. I
True
mean,
that.
first of all, you got the Battle of the Beaches between the Sea Eagles and the Roosters. As you got Brookvale, well, you got Manly up against Bondi, and then you got the Battle of the West, the Penrith Panthers up against the Parramatta Eels. They're very juicy propositions right there.
It certainly is. And it's going to be very, very hard to predict of who's going to come in on top in this match.
Well, I think we're going to look at how they performed in week one of the finals and then judge it from there. Because right now, Manly are coming off a hiding to nothing, and we'll be looking for a good bounce back. The Roosters are coming off a narrow win in probably very physically demanding circumstances.
Yes. But like you said, they've got no Takiaho and no Verrills.
So that's two big blows for the Roosters right there. As for Manly, they gain their first choice dummy halfback and can use Carl Lawton more effectively off the bench.
Yes. Whether or not it really will come down to see who's got the better defense and attack in the game. That's how I see it.
I think the Roosters have pushed it a little too far in that win against the Titans. I think that was their grand final. They just played right then and there. And I think if you look at Manly, they'll be looking to keep Tom Trbojevic or get Tom Trbojevic involved in that game at all costs. And they will stop at nothing to try and get him as much ball as they can.
True. It's just going to be so hard. I believe this, out of the two semi-finals, I reckon this one's the best one.
Yeah.
I reckon this one's going to be more unpredictable than the other one. This is just my opinion.
Of course.
This one's going to be very hard to predict, and it could go either way. But this one, I reckon, is going to be more juicier, spicier, anything more than the other one.
Well, I think the Roosters' fitness will be a major thing. The loss of Taki Aho and Sam Verrills compounds that, as well as the fact that if Manly stick to their game plan and get Tom Trbojevic involved as much as they can and really, I would say, throw themselves at and tighten up their defense. I think that would be the main thing for Manly. Tighten up the defense around the ruck and make sure that Saab can outjump Daniel Tupou if and when they try and kick down the Roosters' left-hand attacking edge.
Yes, and the winner of this match are going to play South Sydney
in the preliminary final.
So who knows? It's all on the line.
Final prediction, I think Manly run away with this 13+. I think the Roosters' season and Josh Morris's career will come to an end this time.
I'm going to say Manly as well. In 1 to 12. Let me just say probably I'm going to say by 6. Manly by 6.
Manly by 6.
Yeah, it's a very, very hard one to choose.
All right, and then the second semi-final, we have the Penrith Panthers playing host to the Parramatta Eels. The Eels making only one change from the side that knocked Newcastle out. Ryan Madison has been recalled on the bench with Makahesi Makatoa demoted back to the reserves. This is an interesting switch that Brad Arthur has made.
There has been an interesting switch.
Because he's now taken probably his only strict front rower a natural front rower, and he's taken him off the interchange for Ryan Madison. Now you've got 3 edge forwards. I mean, Papali, he's whatever you need him to be. But
Yeah.
the Eels have no proper front rowers left on the bench because they got both of them starting with Campbell Gillard and Junior Paulo. I got to wonder, is Brad Arthur expecting for them to play big minutes and try and rotate them with Nia Correa and Nathan Brown?
I don't know. But in order to say that, we had to see the Penrith lineup, which has got Dylan Edwards back at fullback. So that puts Crichton back onto the wing and Charlie Staines back to the reserves. No,
Not to mention
Charlie Staines is out altogether. So Brandon Naden's also in the reserves with Tyler May, Spencer Lenu, and Isaac Targo. Scott Sorensen is in off the bench alongside Mitch Kenny, Tavita Pangai Jr. and Liam Martin. And Matt Eisenhuth is also out, which I believe is due to injury.
And the return of Moses Leota.
Yes, that as well. So Penrith are full strength.
Just about, I would think.
Well, without, yeah, pretty much. Just pretty much Staines, but Burton's been doing a brilliant job at centre.
He has been outstanding for the Panthers this year, and I think his game has developed a long way. Both at centre and at 5'8", and I think this will be to Canterbury's benefit come 2022.
Yes. Could this be Burton's last game for Penrith? We just don't know. There's a lot of changes coming up.
This is also a huge pressure game for the Eels as well. A win for them will mark the first time in about 16 years, or no, not 16 years, pardon me, but for the first time in 12 years that they have advanced past the semi-final stage to get to the preliminary final and one shot away from the grand final. But they're going to have to do it by beating Penrith and then trying to match their round 24 heroics against the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens in this one. But realistically, I don't see Parramatta going past this week.
I think they have a chance. I think they beat Melbourne twice in the same year. Not even Penrith has done this.
That is true.
And I think if the Eels play on their best day, I think Penrith have to understand. I think Penrith do understand that even if both sides are on their best day, it's not going to be a blowout for either one. This is going to be a real tight tussle between the two sides.
I can see that in some extent, but not in another.
I think the weakness will be, I think, the dummy half area. I think Coruscant has got the wood over Ray Stone, but there's no use of having Coruscant as the better hooker if he can't break through the Eels' defense. And that was what got them a win against Melbourne. It's what sparked up their win over Newcastle. Just absolute, resolute defense and playing each other and basically just playing football.
Yeah. It's going to be a massive task for Parramatta to do something.
It does. It absolutely does. But do I think they're up for the challenge? I think they are.
Well, Parramatta will have the referee that refereed their last match again. So that's a benefit for them.
I don't think it's going to happen the same way, though.
No, because considering what the referee's like, he can favour obviously higher size than what the opposition is. Like I say, it's gonna be a blockbuster game, but not as big of a blockbuster as I know it's the Battle of the West, which is always very big. But compared to the Manly Roosters game, I think this one's gonna be a bit more easier to choose than that other one. And I'm gonna say Penrith 13 plus to win by I'm gonna say Penrith to win by 17.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to go for the upset. I'm going to say the Eels come home 1-12.
So you're saying the Eels 1-12 and to face Melbourne in week 3.
Yes, that is exactly what I am saying. I think the Eels, they have the game plan. If it's good enough to beat the Storm, I think it'll be good enough to beat the Panthers.
True. Interesting. We just had to wait and see on Saturday night.
Oh, we
Yes.
will. We
Saturday
definitely
night.
will.
Yes. Who knows? It could be the first Golden Point match in the final series. Sorry,
There is
extra
no
time.
goal.
Sorry,
Yes.
extra time.
Yes,
That's a
very good.
That's a
Very-
habit. Too much of a habit than saying Golden Point.
Now, before we go, we didn't get around to doing this last week, but we're actually going to take a look at our ladder predictions that we made at the start of the year and have a reflection on how they actually turned out.
Oh, God. Probably mine not so well.
Well, we're about to find out.
Well, I could say that definitely won because I tipped the Dragons to be wooden spooners, and that certainly didn't happen. So that's one cross.
Yes, you did. You also said that the West Tigers would finish 9th.
And that
And they
didn't
did
happen
not.
either.
But the interesting part is, let's not talk about the bottom 8. It's the top 8 that everyone wants to know about. So let's see. You said the Rabbitohs for the minor premiership.
Yep.
Yeah, that didn't age well.
No.
The Roosters would finish 2nd. Well,
Yep.
honestly, I think most people would think the Roosters finished 2nd
Well, no one would have
until they had all those injury crises.
Yes.
Let's see. Storm and 3rd. Yes, that very much exceeded expectations right there. The Eels 4th.
That wasn't too far off.
No, that wasn't. The Raiders. Oh dear God, that was that was an ultimate failure.
Yeah, definitely.
The Titans. Yeah, we had the Titans in there. The Panthers 7th.
Yeah,
And
that was
you
one.
had, and the Newcastle Knights in 8th.
That wasn't too far off. I think that was my closest one.
So overall, of the 8 teams you predicted would finish inside the top 8, you finish with a score of 7 out of 8.
I'm actually quite happy with that. Predicted 7, not quite in the finishing order how it was, but 7 of the 8 teams in the top 8, I've made it through. So I'm pretty happy with that prediction.
As for me, I also predicted the Rabbitohs would get the minor premiership, which, when you think about it, they finished 3rd, only 2 points behind both Penrith and Melbourne. So it's not that bad.
No, it's not.
The Roosters, same again. And if they were fully fit, they might have actually finished 2nd. Parramatta in 3rd. Well, that was a flop. Melbourne in 4th. Hey, I was very conservative with that estimate. I didn't think they would be as good as they have been this year.
Yep.
Canberra, that was a bomb.
Yep.
Newcastle finishing 6th. Penrith in 7th. Yep. Underestimated Penrith severely.
Yep.
Gold Coast in 8th. I did get that one exactly accurate.
Congratulations. I think you're probably that's pretty much the closest you got to getting one correct.
And I had Manly finishing 10th.
Yeah, well, that exceeded expectations as well.
The fact that I had them finishing 10th when they actually ended up finishing 4th, it's pretty close.
I had Manly finishing 11th, so you're better off with me in that state.
And of course, Canterbury was an absolute flop. St. George Illawarra actually finished pretty close to where I thought they would.
Well, I thought they'll finish last and that finishing what, 13th, 12th?
The Dragons ended up finishing 11th.
Well,
not that far off, really.
Well, I had the Bulldogs finishing 12th.
Yeah, that didn't go
Hang
down.
on. The Broncos finished 14th.
Yes.
Well, I tipped them to finish 14th, so that's
there you
one,
go.
That's one for me. So
if you want to take a look at our ladder predictions in full, they are still up on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page. It's Sideline Chat for the Facebook. As for Instagram and Twitter, well, it's the same again. Otherwise, Sideline Chat RL. You'll find them up there.
yes, very much so.
All right, that is full time from us for your NRL Finals Week 1-2 debrief. Hope you enjoy the semi-final. Finals action. If you're a Penrith, Para, Manly, or Roosters fan, or South and the Storm, take notes because you're definitely going to need them. Join us again tomorrow as we take a look at the Betfred Super League's round 24-25 debrief. And there's a lot of things on the line. Can Hull KR beat Leeds to finish inside the top 6? Can Castleford send Darryl Powell out on a playoffs note at Old Trafford? And just who did well over the weekend? We'll see you tomorrow for your Super League debrief.